Oh, man, Rod, you are absolutely bringing the heat today. And you know what? We're going to jump right into our Woodward Pistons segment right now for a few minutes here because we were all talking before the show, Rod, and this could be an October in the D. You got the Red Wings starting up in September, literally playing games in September. You got the Pistons starting games in the beginning of October, and training camp is right around the corner, so we'll be able to ask some questions. But that does drum up some questions for us here, obviously, every Wednesday. We're going to take the time to do our Woodward Pistons podcast. And you know what? I got to tee this thing up for the chat right now. That means that there is a merch giveaway that is going on right now. Like I told you guys, Broder's in the chat. Engage with Broder and woo Broder. Woo Broder, and you get some merch. So, without further ado, you guys already know we got to introduce the legend appropriately for our Woodward Pistons segment and our Woodward Pistons audience. Stay tapped in, guys, because there's a lot of Pistons stuff we got on the way. So, if you can help me, guys, let's get this drum roll going, all right? Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome again to the legend, Detroit News, Rod Beard. Brother, as always, when we're discussing these Detroit Pistons, just kick it away with Rod's thoughts. Closer than you think, man.
I was going to go the same sort of way with October, that this thing is right around the corner with getting all of these teams started. And I mean, be the worst of these. We thought the Tigers might be somewhere a little bit less than 500. They might be above that. We talked about the Lions already with a good start to the season, but the Pistons, how do you get that jump started? I just don't know what the expectations are going to be. I get a sense of what that is, but is it that much better? How well can they start the season? And with the schedule that they have, it's just going to be tough. I just don't know how. That honeymoon period with the Pistons is just going to wear off really, really quick if they don't.
That is an understatement. That is an understatement. Now, I have a quick question here for the chat family. Who do y'all think or want to see be the starting five for the Detroit Pistons? And that's some implications on what we're going to discuss today. Chat family, get in there. It may have something to do with helping you guys get some merch today. But Flannel Sam, I know you have a question as well.
Hey, absolutely. Where do you see Assar Thompson fitting into this team this season?
He could start. He could be like your seventh man, sixth man. I think his defensive ability is going to be one of the keys because we talked about all of the guys on offense and what they can bring. I think you need some of that, but you also need a guy who can come in and just be a defensive stopper for that starting lineup. And it can go a couple of different ways, but I think he's going to be right there. The key for him is just going to be his shooting, that he's got to shoot even if it's the low 30s from three. That would jumpstart a lot of different things for them if they can have his defensive ability in the starting lineup and have some offense to go along with that.
Hey, you know, and that's so appropriate because that is the player that we're discussing today. You talk about last year, a player that we were like, you know what, this is our new Ferrari. Till you fast forward one season, a draft, and an offseason where they add some vets that we don't even believe are like stars, but we think that they're going to play, they're going to contribute, they're going to help these young guys. And now Assar Thompson in one season, this guy kind of lost in the shuffle, looking like, hey, I love our American classics, but looking like, you know, one of our American builds now all of a sudden. And that's where I've seen it become very polarizing. There's some people who still believe that Assar Thompson is the future. There are some people who believe that Assar Thompson might not even be on this team by the time you're talking about you gotta think about it. And that's what I wanted to ask you. I'm serious, bro. I've seen this. This has been polarizing. And people do the same thing with Jaden Ivey too, which I believe is a little premature. And with Assar Thompson, that's where I have to ask the question of who is he? Where do we see this window? You got Simone Fontecchio, because we talk about the window. Simone Fontecchio, he has a contract that's going to be up in 2 years, right? You got the wings. You got the Tobias Harris, who you don't know which way you're going to go in that direction, but you have to make sure that you get another vet on this squad, and it might command similar, if not more money. To me, that starts to make Assar Thompson look like a little bit of an odd guy out. Who is Assar Thompson, and why is he not that odd guy out, in your opinion?
I can't make a strong argument there.
I've been thinking about it, man.
But he's got to be valuable. I think he has the athletic ability to be that important for them. But it's what we talked about. You gather all this talent and you just shake it up and you just see what shakes out of all of that. One of these guys is going to have to figure out how to shoot. One of these guys is going to have to be the starter. In Fontecchio's case, he's more the offensive option, sort of in the Bogdanovich mode. It's certainly not the volume scorer that Bogdanovich is, but you need that in your starting lineup, and you got to find a way to get it there. And that's the argument that we're making. Is it Fontecchio starting? Is it Assar Thompson? What are you leaning more toward? Do you need that defensive guy in the starting lineup? Maybe you do, but I think you also need three-point shooting, because you can't just have Cade out there just kind of freestyling, and in the starting lineup, he's got to be the scorer and the everything else. And then when he goes to the bench and he comes back in, what lineup are you putting out there for him?
Exactly.
It's got to be some level of consistency, but you've also got to be able to stop some people. You got to be in some games. So I think, again, the first part of the season is going to determine if they start throwing the towel in and say, hey, in these first 20 games, we're 8-12, 6-14, something like that, then they're just going to start looking at the season maybe being over. And how do we develop guys, or how do we figure out long-term what this is going to look like? So those things you can start to do, and you can say, hey, we're going to lean on this second-year guy, or we're just going to lean on some of the vets, and we'll figure out what we're going to do long-term.
Sitting here and you're placing a high value on his defense, and realistic is because he's probably the Pistons' best defensive player, and it's not because of what they don't have, but because he actually exuded and showed some plus skills on the defensive end to go out there as a rookie and really hold his own against number ones in the league nightly. And that was supposed to be able to help bring down Cade Cunningham's usage on both sides of the ball, especially early on in the season. We saw them use Assar Thompson in pick and roll, dribble handoff, rim run actions, lobs. We saw them. They were early in the season. They were throwing it up to him. And then all of a sudden that just stopped. And where that brings my mind to, and it kind of helps bring me a little bit of renewed optimism with Assar Thompson, just in this conversation alone, is J.B. Bickerstaff. There's a lot of people out there who are like, man, maybe we can get an opportunity to kick the tires on Isaac Okoro, who J.B. Bickerstaff has a lot of belief in. But when I look at Assar Thompson, I'm like, okay, we like Isaac Okoro because of what we know J.B. Bickerstaff is able to do. We have a coach right now, and I'm not going to slander Monty Williams, but I will talk about just tell it truthfully, I guess, just state it plainly. Man, we're 2 weeks from training camp. Shout out Pistons PR. I will just tell it truthfully. J.B. Bickerstaff looks like a guy who wants to take on this mantle of the young players and making sure they can get there. We know to start training camp last year, about this same time, within a week or two, Monty Williams was telling us, this is a young team. I'm not used to this. I would rather this team be a little bit older than they are right now. And so J.B. Bickerstaff and I believe Fred Vinson, those are two guys right there that I am putting a lot of expectation on as it relates to Assar Thompson, being able to be more of that player that we saw him show promise of early in the season.
Yeah, it's just going to depend. Before you even said that, I was thinking Isaac Okoro is the same type of cat that Cleveland thought would come in and be a defensive presence, but how much did he help offensively? And so I'm starting to look at stats. And Isaac Okoro in his career, 8.5 points, 2.5 rebounds. Assar Thompson, 8.8 points, 6.4 rebounds. So he's a little bit better rebounder and defensively overall. And this is a little bit harder to compare because you would have to look at Isaac Okoro's rookie season to have a really apples to apples comparison there. But it's the same sort of thing. They might be the same sort of cat. They just said, hey, he's going to be our defensive stopper. Well, wait, what else can he do? How else is he helping you? And does he clog up things in the offensive side when you're trying to do that? And so he's a little bit more. Isaac Okoro as a rookie was 9.6 points and 3.1 rebounds. So he's just a different player, but there's some similarities there that you can point to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and Rod, to shift gears a little bit, there is a certain person at the Woodward Sports Network that has called Cade Cunningham disappointing so far in his NBA career.
Yeah. Oh, look at Rod. He took umbrage.
Kool-Aid.
Yes. Sir.
Kool-Aid. Are you calling Cade disappointing?
No.
Oh, you know it ain't me, man. Hey, look, bro. Hey, bro. I was there when he was drafted. We had him in the building. We had Dwayne Casey in that chair over there to tell us who was going to be the draft pick. We started the Cade's on, Rod.
I know who it wasn't. I know it wasn't Brandon.
No.
All right, what did Broder say?
Broder. And I got to set the stage because the national publications, they're starting to say that Cade Cunningham is going to be one of those players that's a first-time All-Star this year. We gotta make sure that's out there. Like national public, other people are saying, you know what, Cade's that guy. So just to set the stage for what Flannel's going to share with you now.
No, a certain person by the name of Sam Stick Day, just so we know who it is, has said that Cade Cunningham has been disappointing so far as an NBA player. You vehemently disagree with that, correct?
Yeah. Disappointing, like he can control his limbs and the strength of his limbs. And I mean, if you take the injury out, he has absolutely not been a disappointing player. Absolutely not.
Man. Oh man. This is so funny. It's so funny.
I mean, it's not disappointing because you have to look at what he's playing around. You put Cade on just about any other team with more talent, and his numbers dramatically rise. That he has gotten these numbers with this team really says what kind of player he really is. That he did not have a roster that was conducive to him being himself, being a player and accumulating some stats. Yeah, just about any one of us could do that. But that he played as well as he did in the time that he was healthy and got the stats that he did. That dude's a baller, man. He can play.
Absolute baller, man. Absolute baller. And I'm looking forward to what he does this year. You know what, man? I think that's a wrap for the Woodward Pistons segment. It was, Rod, you bring the heat, man. You brought the fire. And it was some cool stuff that we talked about, too. As we start to paint the picture, we get a little bit closer to the Detroit Pistons season. When we get there, guys, we're going to have videos. We're going to have the interviews. We're going to have content from the coach, from the players. We're going to have views of practice. And we're going to have a whole lot more substance as well to talk about as it relates to what this team is looking like going forward. But, Rod Beard, any last words from you, brother?
No, guys, it's always fun. It's all in fun.
Definitely. Like I told you guys, you got until this break. Through this break, Broder's going to definitely select the winner for this merch giveaway. Thank you for helping us build this platform. For real. I appreciate you and everything you've done, not just for me, but as I always make mention, so many others across this industry. That is Rod Beard of the Detroit News, sports editor-in-chief. Thank you for your time this morning, brother.
Guys, have a good Wednesday. We'll see you.
Hey,
thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Rod. Man, as always, it's great talking with Rod Beard, going over the entire landscape of Detroit sports. This guy has been in the thick of all of it, from college to pros, and as the sports editor-in-chief of the Detroit News, he just has a perspective from all of his writers and all of his reporters that he's able to bring to this platform every single Wednesday. So shout out to him, and thank you guys for staying engaging in the chat as well. Listen, we're Detroit. We rock with all of our four sports teams, even when some of them are on timeout. But I do believe the Pistons, it's time to call them out their room. Y'all can sit at the dinner for family. Y'all can sit at the table for family dinner. All right? They did some things this summer.
Oh yeah.
Cleaned out the front office. Absolutely. Brought in some vets that will play. Let's rock, man.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's get into this next segment. We got a little bit more football in some unique ways that we got to talk about. Chat family, continue to smash that like button because we want you guys to go home with some appreciation as well. Now more than ever, it is critical for you to have your insurance reviewed. Swiss Insurance to make sure that your current carrier is not slipping in.